Pleasant greetings to you. Alam ba ninyo kung sino ang unang gumamit ng telepono sa Bible? Mahirap hulaan yan. Si Pedro po. Bakit? Di ba may denial si Peter? Mahirap i-translate yung joke na yan sa English. But here is another question. Do you know the first person ever recorded to suffer from AIDS in the New Testament? We just heard about him. He is the rich man in Jesus' parable of the rich man and Lazarus. The man was unnamed, really, but some Christians gave him the name A.I.D.S, which is Latin for a wealthy man. Jesus, however, named the other person aptly as Lazarus. It was a deliberate choice of name based on the Hebrew Elazar or Eleazar, meaning God has helped. The rich man's disease, however, is not a sexually transmitted disease, but just the same, still an STD, a spiritually transmitted disease. And by AIDS, we are really referring to an acquired insensitivity due to selfishness. Let us look at this A.I.D.S closely so we can examine ourselves also, as we might fall victim to this dreaded disease. We shall mention 5 symptoms, but mind you, each symptom is a disease on its own. The first symptom is the disease of poor sight. This symptom is present in self-righteous people. Well, I call them the dapat, or you must, you ought people. Their self-righteous attitude make them open their mouth to always preach. May ganyan mga tao always preachy, di ba? Kung minsan, nagsha-sharing kunyari ng personal experiences, tapos maya-maya sinesermonan ka na pala. Of course, we are not referring to the occasional preachings ni mommy or ni daddy of the family or ni father sa homily. We are referring to an attitude of self-righteousness. And you would notice them when they speak. Kasi ang favorite choice of word nila, dapat. Dapat kasi grade mo sa math, line of 9 nagmana nga sa iyo, no, ang anak mo. Dapat kasi nursing ang kinuha mo walang pera dyan sa music. And many more examples. Yes, sometimes we hold on to our opinions like a bulldog. Don't get me wrong. Sa mga matters of faith and morals, may mga dapat dyan. But even then, sometimes truth that we hold on to can be very blinding. Remember, it is always better to be kind than to be right. Of course, it is best to be both kind and right. Kaya, handle the truth with care and compassion. And kung wala kang nakikita kundi ang pangit at mali sa kapwa mo, then you are suffering from poor sight. Poor sight is a disease by itself. The prophet Amos tells us, "Woe to the complacent in Zion! The sin of the rich man was that he never noticed Lazarus. He accepted him as a part of the landscape of life." So, how do we cure this? By having the eyes of faith. Saint Teresa of Calcutta tells us, each one of the poor is Jesus in disguise. The challenge for each of us then is to ask God to heal our blindness. The second symptom is the disease of poor hearing. When we close our ears to the cry of the poor, this is the sin of the rich man in Jesus' parable. When we only choose to listen to what gives us pleasure, that itself is a disease. When we select to listen only to the teachings of Christ and His church that agree with our irregular moral situations, that is poor hearing. Kapag sinabi nating walang ibang tama kundi ang sinasabi ko, kaya makinig ka na lang sa akin, then we have the disease of poor hearing. So, how do we cure this? By having the ears of love. Saint Teresa of Calcutta tells us, before you speak, it is necessary for you to listen, for God speaks in the silence of the heart. The challenge for each of us then is to ask God to train our heart to listen, because listening is the first condition of loving. The third symptom is the disease of poor taste. You know, selfishness makes one dense. Hence, easily one loses the zest for life. One loses interest in other people. The resultant behavior, wala ka ng gana sa buhay, especially in one's faith and spiritual life. People with poor taste are insensitive and complacent people. They seek only to satisfy their tastes, their senses, their stomachs, their bodies, their skin, in spite of the poverty and misery around them. Poor taste also manifests itself in one's reading materials, what one listens to, what one watches, what one talks about. Poor taste manifests itself in what one says and how one says them to others, even how one jokes. Poor taste actually develops through time and exposure until it becomes a poor attitude begetting poor behavior. So how do we cure this? By having the taste of God. Saint Teresa of Calcutta reminds us, words which do not give the light of Christ increase the darkness. Yet again, the saint tells us, kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. The challenge for each of us then is to examine the poor tastes we have grown accustomed to. Re-educate our taste for godly things in words and deeds. The fourth symptom is the disease of poor sense of touch. People afflicted by the disease of poor sense of touch spend so much for their comfort and entertainment. They are out-of-touch people. They have no sense of responsibility and solidarity. They are touch-and-go people. They may also be indifferent to the needs of the affected. They are disaffected, don't-touch-me kind of people. The first letter of John challenges us. If someone who has worldly means sees a brother in need and refuses him compassion, how can the love of God remain in him? So, how do we cure this? By feeling for ourselves the touch of hope. Saint Teresa of Calcutta reminds us, the biggest disease today is not leprosy or tuberculosis, but rather the feeling of being unwanted. The challenge for each of us then is to re-examine ourselves. Saan ka na ba namamanhid? Sa kasamaan? Sa kasalanan? Sa kabutihan ng Diyos? O sa mga narinig mo sa misa? God's challenge for us is to resensitize our hearts by allowing God to touch us again. The final symptom is another disease. But I will first let you guess this. You think it might be easy, but it's really not. We have already seen the diseases affecting our senses of sight, hearing, taste, and touch. We are down to the final symptom of A.I.D.S in Christians. Can you guess it? 2 words. The first word starts with P. The second starts with R. Okay, can you guess it? Filipinos will say, sirit na. By the way, did you know that Siritna actually has an English origin? It is the Tagalogized version of share it. Good to know. The fifth symptom of acquired insensitivity due to selfishness is the disease of puro reklamo. If you complain that I did not say what language it was, but that's my point. You are a complainer. Once during a TV interview, Mother Teresa was faced with a heckler who said, "You love the poor, that's fine. But how about the immense riches of the Vatican and the Church?" Mother Teresa looked straight at the interviewer and said, "Sir, you are not a happy man. Something is eating you. You don't have any peace within you." At that, the heckler wilted, and she continued, "You should have some faith." "And how do I get that?" asked the man. "You should pray," she said. "But I cannot pray," said the man. "Then I'll do it for you. But on your part, you should try to give people around you a smile. A smile touches other people. It brings some of the reality of God into our lives." End of their conversation. Take note that self-pleasers are most likely to become frequent complainers. So, how do we cure this? By having a heart that prays. Ask God to teach you how to pray. The challenge for each of us then is to examine ourselves in this area. Do you often find yourself complaining? Are you at peace with yourself and with God? Do you count your blessings? Do you pray? These final words of Saint Teresa of Calcutta for this lesson are truly challenging our beings to the core.